we've built this culture where not only is it easy pickings for a abuser, but then on the other side, we've made it very, 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 very hard for the victim to come out and be supported.
Right.
That's what's, going on right now in the IFB movement. And the second part of that question, I believe, was, refresh my memory.
It was when you have a ministry first philosophy. But I want to, before you even say that, like you mentioned two things that were really good. One, you talked about, the man of God or the preacher doesn't bear responsibility in situations. And then you also mentioned IFB sermon clips. And I literally, when you had said that, I actually thought of a clip I watched last night, and it deals with a very minor issue, but this is basically, it's Bill Reeves has been all over IFB sermon clips lately. And but there was a Q&A that they did where it happened in the church, and his staff, who happen to also be his children, are talking about like their responsibility in a situation where he had stepped out of bounds. So I want to just share. Let me share my screen really quick, because I think this clip kind of speaks to what you're talking about.
So if Dad came into the office, and this is me being absolutely the most amazing person in the world. If he came into the office and was having serious attitude issues with me, and I evaluated myself, and I was like, okay, as far as I know, I don't think I'm in the wrong here. And I think you're in the wrong. I think your spirit's wrong. And I think you just didn't have a coffee this morning. I need to stop and realize, hey, guess what? You are in the wrong. Why didn't you get him a coffee this morning so he didn't act this way? And see, that is the problem with a lot of our followers, is they get so turned off by how their leadership is, they miss their responsibility, because there's a lot of power in being a help to your pastor, to your preacher, to your boss. There's a lot of power you have to control them without controlling them. If you can get to know your leadership that well to see all of their faults, and if you're that spiritual to be able to look at them and know that they're wrong, then you should be able to be that spiritual to help them be right. The thing is, we're not that spiritual. The thing is, it's a whole lot easier to see what's wrong with people than to see what's wrong with yourself. So you just got to stop. I have to stop sometimes and just think about what he's saying and control my spirit. Say, you know what? What's something that I could have done to fix this situation? And at the end of the day, a lot of times, what I do is I don't think about it a whole lot. Walks out of the office. I try to take as much as I can from the situation, and I either let it roll off my back and I continue on with the day, because the last thing you need to do is get all hot and bothered about something that your leadership said that you don't think is true. If you don't think it is true, if it is true, then you need to deal with it, and it will come back. But a lot of times, that's where you got to have a walk with God. You've got to have a walk with God where you can look and you can divide Scripture and look at yourself, because that's what the Bible's for. No. And you can look at your authority and say, you know what, this is something that I need to fix. But that's just a few things that I attempt to do.
Yeah, man. When I watched that clip, when I watched that clip, and I've really backed off the gas quite a bit with the Reeves, just because I feel like it's more attention than the church really needs. But when I watched that clip, there's a lot of things that Bill Reeves says from the pulpit that's funny. Like, it's funny that he says these extreme things. Like, it has that like kind of surprise, like, wow, I can't believe he just said that value. But like that clip specifically, it made me feel incredibly bad for his kids. So watching that, I mean, one rule that my parents had that I appreciate was that they said, never call us Mr. and Mrs. Skwarczynski. Like, never call us like by our title, like we're mom and dad. And and I get the context of a Q&A, like I don't want to dig too much into that, but like hearing, like I always cringe when I hear people, like especially wives, when they call their husband like pastor. It's weird to me, because I feel like that's not the relationship. Like, that may be part of it, but it's also your husband or your father. But like with him, I can just, it's odd to me seeing him lay out so clearly, like, if anything happens that offends me, it's on me. if he does if he's in a bad mood, if he does something that's wrong, he said if he had a bad attitude, he said, I'm just going to let it roll off my back and never address it because something's obviously wrong with me. And that's like, again, this is not me making fun of him. Like that's abuse 101. Like that's saying that whatever happens to me, whatever awful thing takes place, I bear the responsibility for that. And just watching that, like I usually when I watch a Reeves clip, I kind of smirk or I have this like, oh yeah, that's kind of dumb. But like watching that was like, man, the amount of manipulation going on in that family, just evident in that 2-minute clip, is really, really shocking. So I just want to share that, because if that's happening over a cup of coffee, imagine in churches when that's happening over, hey, the pastor said something inappropriate or he acted odd with me, and how many people have I interviewed where they said, I didn't think anything of it. He was my youth pastor. I didn't think I could be the one to call him out. And anyway, I just wanted to address that before you answer the next part of that.